Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months.
Yo to Bolt fam, it's the director. Chargers fans. Waking up as a Chargers fan has just been so beautiful these past 48, 72 hours since we announced the hiring of Jim Harbaugh. Chargers fans, how you holding up, man? What's it like waking up in the morning as a Chargers fan? I feel good, man. I feel the optimism is so real. You could almost hold it at this point. I almost feel starstruck thinking that Jim Harbaugh is going to come lead my Chargers in 2024. We're on the up and up, man. We're on the path to one of the most dramatic shifts in NFL history in terms of worst to first. The Chargers could make history here in the next couple of years. And it starts with that man there, Jim Harbaugh. But look to his right, man. We got some breaking news today. Jim Harbaugh may have found his defensive coordinator. It's one obviously a lot of us thought he was going to be bringing anyway from Michigan after leading one of the best defenses in college football history. The man's name is Jesse Minter. And yes, of course, we do have some news on that front. It looks like sources have confirmed that Jesse Minter's met with several defensive players to let them know that he will be headed to Los Angeles with Jim Harbaugh to be Harbaugh's new defensive coordinator with the Los Angeles Chargers. This is pretty massive, dudes. This is big. Like, honestly, even before we jump in and break into this video, even if the Chargers didn't land Jim Harbaugh, regardless, I should say, of the Jim Harbaugh situation, every team in the NFL would have been gunning for Minter anyway. He's a high commodity guy, a top candidate in terms of defensive coordinator in the NFL this season, and the Chargers just so happen are fortunate enough to get him as well as Jim Harbaugh. He's a big deal, and we're going to prove it in today's video. We're not only going to go over this breaking news, but also explain why Jesse Minter is one of the top shelf options for the Chargers and should result in one of the biggest turnarounds for the Chargers on defense that you could hope for as a Chargers fan. Now, before we break into all that, guys, shout out to the sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Make sure to use code DIRECTOR to match your first deposit up to $100. Get in on the action. Just a few more weeks of NFL football before we start getting into some of the fun stuff during the NFL offseason. Get your feet wet. Use this brand new customer code for Christian McCaffrey on this half-yard gimme right here. It's a good time to get in, man. Have some fun while the NFL season lasts just a few. Now, before we do kick off, hit us up with the like and sub. If you do enjoy this Chargers content, this small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into it, baby. Lights, camera, action. Breaking news, the Chargers have found their defensive coordinator in Jesse Minter, formerly of the Michigan Wolverines, coming over to the Los Angeles Chargers with his head coach, Jim Harbaugh. This comes in from source Sam Webb, who I think is part of, 247sports.com, 87,000. We're going to hope that this is a reliable source. I do believe it is. And it's just confirming something that we've already suspected from the start, right? Strong connection with the Harbaugh family. Of course, not only worked with Jim, but also John Harbaugh with the Ravens defense. He's branching off from them. And we're kind of confirming with 247 and Sam Webb what we've already been hearing, that he would be making the jump over to the NFL with the Chargers. And quite honestly, it feels like something that was going to happen eventually anyway. Felt very familiar to the situation with Jim Harbaugh in terms of, we had a great season, big season, historic season for the Michigan Wolverines and college football in general in terms of defense. Let's use that leverage to go back into the pros because, of course, Jesse Minter not too far long ago was part of that Raven, which definitely is becoming one of those coveted defense. It feels like an offense, the Shanahan tree. It's kind of like what you go after nowadays. Lately on defense, it really feels like John Harbaugh's team and the Baltimore Ravens has been kind of that bar that everybody's kind of reaching for right now. And that Ravens defense sure has been one of the best, if not the best in the league the past couple of seasons. Now, I'd say for a while now, they've been known for their defense, right? Now, in that time that Jesse Minter was with the Ravens, we'll say it was from, I think, 2017 to 2020, that defense was as good as ever, right? Was as good as advertised. They were one of the meanest units in the league. I think ranking first, fourth, and seventh from 2018 to 2020. very, 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 very strong years for the Ravens defense, which has into today. All right, so there's your origins of Jesse Minter and the Baltimore Ravens. Of course, kind of his entry into the NFL, and he had a very, very, very good time there, learning from some of the best. That is where kind of found his was in the NFL with this brings over to eventually. Now, meanwhile, in Michigan, Jim Harbaugh has been hard at work for a couple of years now. In 2017, he was going into, I think, his third season with Michigan, which, by the way, I think follows the narrative of the show All or Nothing. I think it was the 2017 season. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, fantastic program on Amazon if you guys have access, called All or Nothing. Look for the season featuring the Michigan Wolverines. This perhaps gave me my best firsthand look at what Jim Harbaugh was like. Of course, Jesse Minter not yet part of the team then, but if you guys want to get to know Jim Harbaugh on a different level, this is a great program. Get to understand his coaching style, even his quirks, personality, which has led, a lot of men into battle. I would say I'm starting to understand exactly why that was because of that program. Either way, in 2017, Jim Harbaugh, he's going into his third season, and at this time, we've already started to see the beginnings, at least, of a dramatic shift in Michigan. Right, they went from, I think, a 5-win team to a 10-win team right off the bat, which was a pretty big improvement just within 1 year. But at this point, it did feel like Jim Harbaugh was already looking to improve his defense with the vision of instilling an NFL-style system team. That is something that's not easy to do. Transitioning one from the other is always kind of a big project. And when you see success at those levels in those transitions, they usually are pretty big, right? It's a pretty big deal. It's a pretty big ask for any coordinator. And so to do this, he wanted his help. He wanted help on this matter, and decided to later turn to his brother, John Harbaugh, who was in the NFL, of course, at this time. This was around the 2021 season. Now, John Harbaugh said, "Yeah, man, I got you. We'll hook you up." And he went ahead and offered a few of his best guys to Jim Harbaugh to take over to Michigan and get the ship right. Not only getting the ship right, but I would say set the table for what Jim wanted to instill in Michigan. He wanted an NFL style. And of these few names, I do think Jesse Minter was on the table, but of these few names, it wasn't actually Minter that got chosen. It was this man, Mike McDonald, who eventually, of course, became a very big name. He's looking at head coaching opportunities as one of the best defensive coordinators in the league, or I should say defensive-minded coaches in the league, from the Baltimore Ravens. Right? Very, very, very impressive resume. He did a very good job in Michigan for that one season. Now, that one season was very important. Mike McDonald began the transition for the Wolverines in that year, and he had a lot of success right off the bat. And they ended the season as a top-tier defense in college football. Maybe not even to the level of Jesse Minter, but it was a very successful transition. The table has been set. It very much so spoke to the talent that was going to be Mike McDonald in the second level, in the pros once again. Of course, he went from the pros to Michigan, back to the pros very, very soon. And that was something that a lot of people suspected. Yeah, right after that season, I think in 2020. Yeah, I think it was 2020, maybe in 2021. He went right back to the Baltimore Ravens, had a lot of success, and here he is today as a top candidate in the NFL. This would later lead Jim Harbaugh to hire yet another man from John Harbaugh's shortlist. That was this man, Jesse Minter, the man that we're talking about today, likely leading the Chargers defense in 2024 and beyond. Man that honestly shocked even the college world with what he instilled in the Michigan Wolverines defense, the potential of what he could bring to the NFL being very, very exciting. Now, this segment called Jump to the... Okay? This is where things are very crazy. Jesse Minter, who's coming into a situation where the Michigan Wolverines are starting to set the table for an NFL, like a pro-style would take this NFL-style mold to the next level. Already kind of hard to think about, wow, it's already a big task to bring that kind of system. College ball, he would then take it and even level it up from there on out. Over the next two seasons, 2022-2023, Minter would have created the best defense in college football. Some even say a historic defense in college football history, allowing just 9.5 points per game in the Big Ten. That's unbelievable. That's almost unfathomable. Of course, he led the league, or I should say the college football, in several different categories. I think yards per game and points per game, et cetera, at the top of the list there. But this was very much so a big reason why Michigan went all the way. A big reason, too, their success on top of Jim Harbaugh was Jesse Minter and this incredible defense that he built out there in Michigan. And I will say, with a little help from Mike, upset things. And it's to the point now where, as I'm starting to do my research and look at opinions on Mike, or I should say on Jesse Minter, and what his impact would be, or I should say his lack of presence would be if he were to leave Michigan, how the fans feel about that. Michigan Wolverines fans, man, they'll tell you that losing Minter to the Chargers hurts almost at the same level as Harbaugh, which is insane to me. Jesse's only been there a couple of seasons. But Wolverine fans are very, 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 very loyal to this man, and they are very hurt by the idea that he would be leaving. And now at this point, of course, I'm sure it's going to be a big transition for the Wolverine, their team, their defense. But that just speaks to the level of which what we're getting for the Chargers in terms of our defensive. Now, getting to know Jesse Minter a little bit and what Chargers fans can expect from this hire, I think comes from what he instilled in Michigan. Nice preview of it is just go watch some Michigan. Now, to kind of highlight some of the things that I saw or whatever, what I read up on, my research dictated. Yes, you can expect a very big change in the Chargers. That the defense is going to be stellar. It really is. And the bar, yes, some people will say is not too high compared to what we had to deal with Brandon Staley, right? All you got to do is come in here and be average. Chargers fans will love you because an average defense would have resulted in a much different win-loss record last season. How many games did the Chargers lose by 3 points or less? Now imagine if the defense was just average instead of like bottom 2, sometimes worst in the league. I think the Chargers would have won a lot more games. The bar's not very high. But Jim and Minter don't care. They're going to raise it even. Now, again, I only watched a few Michigan games last year, made playoffs, national championship, et cetera, et cetera. But in even just those games, I saw some incredible things that get me excited to the Chargers. Traits that carry over even into the research that I'm doing right now. It's like even like my eyeballs saw one thing during the national championship, and as I look into it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a trait. That's something that he's known for. Now, Minter is known for creating an extremely physical culture. That's what I'm going to say. I think if you want a definition here, the physicality in Michigan was absurd. The tackling was absurd in terms of its consistency. Tough defense. I don't know. What else do you want me to say? If you guys want to see big hits, Minter and the defense will deliver. They are a very physical unit. There's an understanding of flooding the ball carrier. Every player swarms. There's an understanding of positioning, of pressure. Michigan, they run a lot of, they very much so, a ton of 4-2-5. 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, 5 DBs. They create a clamp around the quarterback, but also supply enough DBs to swarm the field. Create big plays by the defensive playmakers. Create little space or provide little space to work with for the offense. It's very, very effective. But I think the top physical, or I should say the top defining trait of that defense through his time with Jesse Minter was their aggressiveness, their physicality. This team wants to hit you, and they're gonna. They create a lot of big plays because of that aggressiveness, because of that toughness. And it's something that the Chargers have sorely lacked, in my opinion, for a long time. I would say like the last time I felt the defense was big, mean, tough. Probably the Merriman days, Phillips days, Weddle days, right? It's been a minute. It's been a long time since the Chargers had that big, mean, intimidating defense that we've been hoping to create for so many years. And yeah, we got a big roster of players in that time that have been very impressive. Joey Bosa, Melvin Ingram, Derwin James, right? Some big name players. But for some reason, that physical dominance, that aggressiveness, that physicality just didn't feel like it was there. I think we're about to see that shift, baby. I think we're about to see that shift very, very dramatic. Okay? A big thing that gets a lot of people excited as well is the idea of what's called, in this segment at least, the Viper Strike. Now, a huge concept, and this is a big thing. I'm going to say if you take the Chargers defense today, say, what do we got to work with? I think you got three big names, right? You got Derwin, you got Bosa, you got Mack. You got a lot of other awesome names kind of scattered in between. But I think if you're going to start building blocks, even if maybe one or more of them are gone, it's got to be with Derwin and one of the pass rushers. I think Derwin still needs to be the center point. He's going to be the star of the Minter defense. Comes behind this idea of the Viper Strike. Now, a huge concept in Staley's defense that got us excited was the utilization of Derwin James. Brandon Staley was supposed to be this mastermind that came in and made Derwin James a star. Ultimately, that idea did fall on its face, and Derwin eventually went grossly misused. A lot of us may be a little bit worried that's going to happen again. I wouldn't think it's... It turns out that Brandon Staley was kind of in over his head. Here comes Minter doing what he does best, running the deep. Now, this was pointed out by us, to us by one of our resident Michigan Chargers fans. Shout out to U of M Clips and Bolts, I think is the name, on Twitter. He's been a fantastic follow. Actually, or here. He'll show you guys some of the stuff that he's been posting. He's been a Michigan fan / Chargers fan, has some awesome, unique insight. This is one of my favorite posts here that he's put in the past couple of days. It's a whole thread about the Jim Harbaugh lore, stories, and interactions that he's observed over his... Put him on. Anyway, he comes in and he explains to us, Chargers fans, something that the Michigan defense does uniquely in terms of featuring some of their positions here, called this Viper. It's the hybrid linebacker / DB position. Again, yes, called the Viper position. It's something that's been very, very successful. Very successful in Michigan. This looks like something Derwin would dominate in under the Minter leadership. It really, really does. And it reminds a lot of people, because it carries shades of it, of Kyle Hamilton, and we'll say his duo with like Roquan Smith, with the Baltimore Ravens. A lot of people are pointing out that it holds potential of Kyle Hamilton. You pair him up with a good linebacker like Roquan Smith, the quarterbacks don't stand a chance, and maybe the Chargers can find a way to add a guy like that. Who knows what, Dayan Henley has to offer, what he's got in the tank. But this is something that gets people very, very excited. So the Chargers, in terms of building blocks, I think we already have one of the most important. But this Viper position concept is something to get very excited about because, again, it utilizes aggressiveness, the physicality of some of these players. And as this is why I chose this photo in particular, that is kind of what Derwin is all about. You got him playing at 100%. Got him playing at that level. Feels like Minter's going to be able to get that out of him. Now, finally, last couple of things to talk about, what to be excited about here, and why this is happening. This segment called Nose for the NFL. As we mentioned, Michigan's defense, and this is why this is a unique situation here. Michigan's defense was built on the idea of utilizing NFL concepts, where in a lot of the times you bring in a college guy to the pros, whether it be a coordinator, whether it be a head coach. It can be a bit of a difficult transition, one with maybe not as guaranteed results. But the fact that Minter built something with the idea of NFL concepts makes that a lot more exciting because the transition should be pretty seamless. Because of how successful it was going to college football, it should be just as successful back. Mike McDonald, Minter, they did a great job. And we saw McDonald able to do it coming back from college football into the pros again. I would expect a very similar result with Minter back into the pros as well. And this is why Minter was always going to be major candidate for all teams as the next big name at defensive coordinator. It really is. It speaks volumes. Because what you're getting is basically the Baltimore Ravens defense, but with a twist, but with a masterfully tailored twist around your roster, its talent, and its ability. Feels very exciting to be a Chargers fan just off of the back of what they're doing at head coach. Now, a defensive coordinator, I think Yes, I don't know if anything's going to surpass the hype of Jim, but this would be celebrated in any other year as one of the biggest moves the team could have possibly made. Because everybody wanted him. Not just the Chargers. I saw outlets and fan bases and news stories and blah, 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 pushing him towards other teams like the Dolphins when they let go of Vic Fangio. Pushing him towards the Bengals and the Eagles. Everybody wanted this guy, even though they didn't think they were going to get Jim Harbaugh. But his connection to Harbaugh ultimately provided us the obvious advantage to landing Jesse Minter. My point here is that he's highly coveted. We're extremely fortunate that he's part of the Harbaugh deal, which was already massive. And it's going to create a huge, huge shift in quality of play, aggressiveness, and physicality for the Chargers going into 2024. Imagine, Bullfan. Imagine what we're in for. A Jesse Minter, Ravens-style defense. It's already really exciting. Mixed in with a powerful run game. I do expect Jim Harbaugh to instill a running culture with this to balance things out, which will provide more explosive opportunities in the passing attack. Led under legendary head coach Jim Harbaugh. This is an exciting time to be a Chargers fan, baby. This team is about to undergo one of the biggest transformations maybe in NFL history. Jim Harbaugh and company are going to be a big reason for that. And Jesse Minter is definitely part of that equation. Now, for those of you about to ask, yes, Jim Harbaugh may not be done. He may have a couple more names that he's bringing over from Michigan. Probably the biggest one in connection in terms of Michigan at staff, Ben Herbert. Yes, it would be awesome to add another Herbert to the Los Angeles Chargers, but this man, one of the most decorated strength and conditioning coaches maybe ever in football. He would make a huge deal change with the Chargers there. It sounds like that's maybe not as plausible. He's more likely to stay in Michigan. A couple other guys with Jim Harbaugh connections, such as Brandon Brown, very excellent GM candidate, and Joe Ortiz, very excellent GM candidate. Ortiz, to me, probably leans a little bit more towards my liking, having so much time with the Baltimore Ravens. We know Jim and John, like those pieces are interchangeable, and Ortiz's resume is absolutely fantastic in terms of the draft. So we'll have to wait and see. But till then, get excited about the defense. It looks so transformed, it's stupid. Brandon Staley put that team in the dirt. Now it's time to take him out of that hole, put him under new leadership, and honestly create something here. Because honestly, guys, this is how good he is. I don't know how long I expect Jesse Minter to be the Chargers defensive coordinator. I think he's going to get offers the next couple of years. I think he's going to be so good that I don't know how long he sticks around. So we got to create this system, create this culture, create this opportunity to build something in terms of an identity on defense as quickly as possible while we have Jesse Minter. I think he's going to be that good. We'll wait and see what Jim decides to do on offense, but this team, man, a lot to be excited about. A lot to be excited about. So get excited, Bowl fam. Congratulations to Jesse Minter. Hopefully we see the official announcement here very soon. And get excited, Bowl fam. A lot of good things ahead. A lot of good things ahead. Get excited. There's maybe never been a more exciting time to be a Los Angeles Chargers football. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. If you liked what you saw here, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. We'll see you next time. And as always, bolt up. Frosty. Let's go, Minter. Let's make some big hits out there, baby.